As the Black Lives Matter movement has rapidly gained traction over the past month, it's not just celebrities and Instagram models who are jumping on board. Corporate America has also decided to finally step up. But while these companies are posting messages of support for the Black community, many Black people who work in these companies are asking them to put their money where their mouth is.
Big name corporations sharing messages of solidarity, but many are calling on them to practice what they preach.
Employees at places like Estee Lauder and Adidas speaking out against a lack of diversity and equality in their workplaces, despite public messages of support from the company's CEOs.
In a video, Nike said, "Don't pretend there's not a problem in America." Critics point out that all of Nike's executives are white.
You cannot say Black Lives Matter publicly when you don't show us Black Lives Matter within your own homes and within your organizations.
Yeah, that's right. If you are just some random person who has 10 followers on Twitter and you tweet Black Lives Matter, maybe that's the best you can do. But if you're a major corporation that hires thousands of people, you can actually show that Black Lives Matter in a material way that goes beyond your social media feed. On their own, corporate tweets are useless. No one's going to stop being racist because SpaghettiOs told them to. Like, it's not enough to just be Black Lives Matter in the tweets. You gotta be Black Lives Matter in the streets. Hell, you gotta be Black Lives Matter in the sheets. Okay, maybe I didn't think that last one through, but you know what I mean. But the question is, why are African Americans so underrepresented in the American workforce? Well, let's find out in our brand new segment, This Black American Life. Why aren't more African Americans hired in American companies? Is it because they're lazy? Is it because they're uneducated? Or is it because offices are just way too cold? Well, despite what your racist uncle might post on Facebook, the truth is, for many Black Americans, getting a job is almost impossible. And it's because their Blackness stops them from even getting in the door.
Blacks are the last hired and the first fired.
White males are hired based on potential. Blacks are hired based on demonstrated accomplishments.
Going back a quarter century, statistically speaking, very little has changed for Black applicants. Whites receive, on average, 36% more callbacks than African Americans and 24% more callbacks than Latinos.
Thousands of made-up resumes were mailed to employers, identical except for the names. Half Black-sounding, half white. The results? Black-sounding names were 50% less likely to get follow-up calls.
Wow. Racism never takes a day off. If you have a Black-sounding name on your resume, you're 50% less likely to get called in for the interview. Imagine if America had the same policy when picking a president. That would have screwed things up. It says Barack Hussein Obama. Okay, next. What we got here? John Edwards. Now this guy sounds like he's got it. And that's the thing I wish more people understood. Black people are asking for equality, not charity. They're not asking people to hire Black people just because they're Black. They're asking companies to stop not hiring Black people just because they're Black. Because even with the exact same qualifications and a resume that's exactly the same, the only thing that blocks people is having a Black-sounding name. I mean, why would anyone even want a workplace with no Black people in it? You need at least one person who knows how to dance at the office party. And also, what if zombies show up? You want them to kill you first? So, it's enough of a challenge getting your Black foot in the door of corporate America. And if you're lucky enough to find your way into the office, good luck finding the ladder.
Only 3.2% of executives and senior leaders in the U.S. are African American.
There are only 4 Black CEOs in the Fortune 500, only 4, and no Black women.
There are too few opportunities for African Americans to rise to the top, to have the opportunity to serve in leadership positions.
There's a promotion gap. At every level going up, it becomes less and less diverse, more white.
When I don't see those that have been in the company for X amount of years not hold certain titles, there places a doubt in my mind.
Representative Al Green asking a pointed question to major bank CEOs.
If you believe that your likely successor will be a woman or a person of color, would you kindly extend a hand into the air?
Okay, that was just awkward. I mean, from the way those bank CEOs reacted, that congressman might as well have asked them to raise their hands if they'd ever seen Mike Pence eating a flaming hot Cheeto. Not a single one of those banks thinks it's even possible that a person of color will run the company. That says a lot. I mean, if you ask me, every bank should be run by a black woman. Yeah, because banks are out here losing trillions of dollars, credit default swaps, mortgage scams, and then after they screw up, average people lose their homes. Meanwhile, black women are out in these streets every day figuring out how to make $1 stretch into 10. I'll tell you right now, if my grandmother ran a major bank, she would have been the one bailing America out. Oh no, the economy crashed? Oh baby, let me see. I've got $2 trillion here. Hold on. Ooh, there you go. You bring back my change. Now, if you're one of the few black people who have made it into corporate America, congratulations. Your reward is working every day with some people who have no idea how to act around you.
Microaggression describes indirect or subtle discrimination. And if you're on the receiving end, it can be as hurtful as anything overt.
White people will come to me and say, you speak so well. And then, right, you speak so well, or you're very articulate.
In my own personal experience, like, you don't sound black. Like, what does sound black and sound white really mean?
You're not like the others and stuff like that. And you think about it because it's like, you're not like the others. So, well, what are the others?
The assumption is always going to lead in that I know less.
My manager turns to me and says, well, isn't your hair so big because all of your intelligence is in there? And physically grabbed my hair.
Yeah, every day, black people have to navigate a workplace filled with people who don't even realize that they're doing something offensive. You're so intelligent, it must be in your hair. This is what you get from living in a segregated society. Instead of knowing black people and black culture, you've got white folks interacting with black people like they're making contact with E.T. Hello, my friend. Do your people shake hands? Nah, the coronavirus. And it's because millions of white Americans don't have the first clue of how to interact with their black coworkers, or just even be normal around them, that black people in corporate America have to spend an inordinate amount of time making white people feel comfortable.
For those of us who have been in corporate America, we have to be able to exist, and not only exist, but to really thrive in two totally different cultures. This idea of double consciousness.
Our blackness isn't accepted in a lot of spaces that are critical for our success.
Intelligence is often linked to whiteness, so black people are often encouraged in professional settings to use a quote-unquote white voice, aka code switch.
I turn it on. I have to be my best unauthentic self in order for me to relate to my white peers. And I have to make sure that I can talk about subjects that relate to your lifestyle that have absolutely nothing to do with mine.
I speak 2 languages. I speak English and I speak white.
Because a lot of what we do are the things to make white people feel more comfortable around us.
Yeah, so many people take for granted that black people in the office are not just focusing on their job. They're focusing on not being perceived as threatening or disruptive or too black. And so you try your best to blend in with the whiteness that's around you. Like, that's not something that white people ever have to worry about. I mean, white kids don't even code switch when they talk to their parents. What up, dude? Yeah, I'm crushing it on Call of Duty. Yeah, okay, hold on, my mom's calling me. Yo, dude, what up? Yeah, bro, I told you, I'll crush my homework when I'm done. All right, I'll talk to you later, Mom. Bye. So, to corporate America, if you really believe in rooting out systemic racism and supporting black lives, then I say to you, examine your own actions within your companies before history leaves you behind. Or as I would put it if I wasn't in the office, you better check yourself before you wreck yourself. Well, that's our show for tonight. But before we go, as you may know, June is Pride Month. And right now, we want to highlight charities that are making a difference for LGBTQ communities, especially those of color, like the National Black Justice Coalition, which advocates for federal policies that fight against racism and homophobia. And if you can help them, and you'd like to join in, then please donate whatever you can. And if you'd like to support efforts to help the Black LGBTQ community specifically in New York, then you can donate to the Audre Lorde Project. They help these communities fight for their rights and organize for change.